Tamil Nadu's number one brand in mobile accessories, Happy Pola. Enjoy your favorite movies and shows with our new level of sounds.
And the day is finally here. After 10 years, 11 months, and 7 days, Indian men's team, cricket team, have won a T20 World Cup. The last ICC title came in 2013 in Champions Trophy. Since then, they have suffered multiple semi-final defeats, multiple final defeats, and after heartbreak, Indian cricket team led by Rohit Sharma were in United States and West Indies, and in the final, two unbeaten teams, India and South Africa, went up against each other, and India prevailed. India dominated, and India got across the line. And in this special episode of Fours and Sixers, to look at all that happened in that summit clash and the big newses that followed with the legends of Indian cricket, as well as the former legends and who dominated the tournament for India and overall as well. Joining me is Firoz Mirza. Thank you so much for joining. Firoz, India won a World Cup, and it's been so long that Indian cricket has been waiting for this particular success. Your first thoughts on the final and the campaign?
See, the fans, everyone in the country, and more importantly, the team, they have been waiting for this title for long, as you said. Last year, they came close, but eventually got defeated. Despite being unbeaten throughout the tournament, they got defeated in the final. So the feelings, emotions, everybody were going through the roller coaster ride, not only the team. So it's good that the team eventually lifted the title, which has been eluding them for the past 11 years. If we talk about the ICC title, and if we talk about the T20 World Cup or a World Cup, then to the wait was even longer.
Yeah. And the win came in such a way that the key architects in the final, the key performers in the final, Virat Kohli, who after a series of poor scores finally, because of the situation, India lost three early wickets, including Rohit Sharma, was forced to play his natural game. He took his time. He didn't hit boundaries for more than 10 overs, and yet he finished with a half century and set the platform, which took India to a par total, barely par. But it was the bowling of Jasprit Bumrah and Ashdeep Singh that got across the line. But before getting into what happened on the match, shortly after India won, there were obviously a lot of emotions, a lot of tears, a lot of narratives and stories. There is Hardik Pandya, who is coming back of IPL season where he was booed everywhere he went. Here he was in the final over, defending the 16 runs to hand India a 7-run victory. And then there was Ashdeep Singh, there was Akshar Patel, who's been constantly, under the wings of Jadeja, being a superior bowler, who's gotten the place in the 11. He stepped up today. He stepped up in the final, not today. He stepped up in the final to get India to a good total. But the biggest news of all is Ravindra Jadeja, who did not have much to do in this World Cup, and then the key architect of this campaign and the person who led from the front, person who set the template, Rohit Sharma, who finished as the second highest run scorer, who has the highest strike rate in the team and 150 plus strike rate, who set the tone up front throughout this tournament and even before. And of course, Virat Kohli. All three senior players have retired from the T20 international format. Now, there is an argument to make that it probably could have happened a lot long before, but they wanted this trophy, they wanted to win this trophy for India, and they did it, and they bid adieu. Your thoughts, Firoz?
Before talking about their retirements, if you look back at 2011 World Cup, even before that final, MS Dhoni hasn't done much in that tournament, throughout the tournament, but he came out, he performed, he helped his side to win the World Cup. And I think the same role Virat Kohli played in the final, again in the final. So, yeah, big players perform at the biggest stage. He proved it right. And yeah, it could have happened in the past as well. It could have happened earlier as well. But I think the platform was perfect for all these legends of the game to retire. And yeah, without them, now the team has to find replacement for them. let's see what happens. But yeah, it's great that they have achieved their dreams and they have won a World Cup, T20 World Cup for the country, for the team. So hopefully they'll continue to perform at the same when in the other formats where they are still where they will be playing for the country. So yeah, difficult to find replacement, but we have to look forward now.
Sporting, fairy tales doesn't often write itself. Rohit himself said in the press conference that if it has to happen, it should have been written, but you don't know if it's written, and that's the game. And you have they did not know they will go on to win the World Cup. They wanted to, but there is no guarantee. They wanted to the ODI World Cup as well, something that Rohit has not won as a player. But here again, the same case. This match was won in the barest of margins in different situations, different wickets, different fielding catches, and so on. But to have such a fairy tale finish, to announce with the World Cup in hand saying, I'm done, over to the next generation.
Yeah, means if you talk about the margin, means at one point of time, South Africa were needing 30 of 30 balls with 6 wickets in hand. Means the game was in their control. It was their game to lose. Eventually coming back, winning that contest, and winning it means in front of means I think most of the, if we talk about the crowd there, Indian supporters were there who traveled distance to witness their team perform and lift that trophy. They were expecting the same in 20 last year in Ahmedabad. That didn't happen, but fortunately it happened in Barbados. So, okay, yeah, means doing that and means saying goodbye to the game at high means that's the good part of that.
That that margin that you mentioned, 30 runs in 30 balls, and after that, what followed was a masterclass from none other than Jasprit Bumrah. Here's a bowler at his peak of his powers in a T20 World Cup. He's taken 15 wickets, including that of the final, but he has conceded only 12 boundaries. He's operated at an economy of 4.2 and averages around 8. These are numbers that's barely believable, but that's what he has done. He came back in that situation with 5 overs left. First over, just 4 runs, because Klaasen and David Miller knew they don't have to take on Bumrah. And then at the next over, Hardik Pandya removed Klaasen, and then Bumrah came back again for the final over, and this time he removed Marco Jansen with the reverse swinging in swinger, and then all hell broke loose. In the second over, he gave away 2 runs and a wicket, total of 12 balls. Of the 30 balls, 12 balls was from Bumrah, and in those 12 balls, he gave away 6 runs and a wicket of Marco Jansen. And it's not a far-fetched thing to say that he has been the differential factor for India throughout this World Cup. This is a pass score that India posted. If any team that has gone in without Bumrah, there is no guarantee that they are defending it against this South African batting lineup. But how do you describe what he has done in this World Cup?
Yeah, means be it their game against Pakistan, be it this final against South Africa, giving away 2 runs when the situation demanded something else, and that too against batters from South Africa who had followed that aggressive approach since the beginning. So I think that last 2 overs from Bumrah was the game changer. There were many game-changing moments, and one of the prominent moment among them was this over, giving away 2 runs and then putting pressure on other batters to follow. Again, chipping away with a wicket as well. So obviously, it put a lot of pressure on upcoming batters, and somehow he managed to do that throughout the tournament. And fittingly enough, he was awarded that trophy, player of the tournament trophy. Who else apart except him?
If you ask me, he should have been the player of the final as well, but that's just me. But Bumrah was not just the only game changer there. One of the Even after Bumrah's over, South Africa could have won. They needed 16 of 6 balls, and the first ball was a low full toss that Miller hit as hard as he could. It for a longest time it was in the air, and everybody thought it was 6, including Ian Smith on comms. But then there was Suryakumar Yadav running in from long off, taking a catch, throwing it up, going over the boundary, coming back, taking it again. To do that in that situation, in with all that's in stake, is that the closest we are going to see to what Kapil did in 1983?
I was about to say that it's not that such catch has been taken for the first time. It has been happening everywhere. But the moment the final over, it's the T20 World Cup final. At that time, maintaining your calm, maintaining your composure, and doing that, yeah, we can surely compare it with that 1983 catch by Kapil Dev. It changed the game, and it sent back Miller, who had that ability of hitting off those runs. So yeah, it was another game-changing moment, which swung the game in India's favor.
We also have to talk about someone like Akshar Patel again. India had lost 3 wickets, as we mentioned before, and as they did against Pakistan, India promoted him, and it was he who played the aggressor role. And while Virat Kohli stabilized things, he scored 47 runs, and once he got out, Shivam Dube, who's been criticized all through the tournament, he steps up, he scores an aggressive 20 odd runs, while Virat Kohli again consolidates at the other end, taking the game deep as he always does. It's what he's best at. Uh, these two players to step up when they did, despite all the criticisms, despite all the stature of the senior players that's there. Like there's Ravindra Jadeja, who's been constantly preferred over Akshar Patel, who's clearly a better option in white ball cricket. And then there is Shivam Dube, who's teams also know that he's a designated spin hitter, which is why when he's inside, they don't bowl spin, they prefer pace. And yet, despite him not delivering, India stuck with him, and he delivered on the biggest stage.
And it's good for both of them because, especially for Shivam Dube, he has been throughout the tournament he was facing a lot of criticism. But it's good that he showed his talent in the final, and those runs. Means it made those runs made the difference actually, and scoring runs at more than 150 strike rate at that stage of game, because India were now looking nowhere close to 150 before that. When he came, he made it possible. They not only crossed that 150 run mark, they added 20 extra runs, and because of those runs only, bowlers had something to defend. Yeah, his innings was extremely crucial if we talk about final.
We have talked about the win. We have talked about the players. Captain Rohit Sharma, who has been desperate for a trophy. India brought him on because they were lacking a World Cup or an ICC trophy. And he had 3 chances, 2 T20 World Cups, 1 ODI World Cup, a semi-final, another final in the ODI World Cup, and finally in his last T20 World Cup, he gets that trophy. And in all this has been one other person who's through with him. That's the head coach Rahul Dravid, who also was departing, separating from the team. He's not going to be the head coach anymore. There is a new coach who's yet to be announced. What a story for someone like Rahul Dravid, who was the captain when India played the World Cup in 2007 ODI format, and India faced an early exit. The pictures are still vivid. This after the loss against Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, India were eliminated. If you are an Indian captain, your legacy is defined by whether you win World Cups or not, irrespective of whatever you do in the 4 overs that's in between. It's the World Cup that defines what you have done for the Indian cricket. He couldn't do it as a player, but here he is as a coach, who has led India to 3 ICC finals, a World Test Championship, ODI World Cup, a T20 World Cup, and he finally has a trophy. He's not someone who expresses a lot as a person, but when Virat Kohli dragged the trophy, handed to him, we saw what it meant to him.
Yeah. Obviously, means if you talk about titles and all, Dravid legacy is something which goes beyond title. Everybody knows it. But yeah, somewhere deep in his heart, he must be missing that title. And finally, it's good for him that, and it's good for India that finally he managed to have that when he was there. Being a player, he could never do that. And as you said, that 2007 World Cup, the fans, everyone in here in India, they still remember those pictures where how the mood was in the camp when they lost to Bangladesh, and they finally made an early exit from the tournament after losing to Bangladesh. So that hurt must be somewhere. He being Dravid is not an easy job, because uh, Even in other things, if we talk about David being captain, being a player, he never managed to win the title for the country, ICC title. So yeah, means finally winning it, no matter if he was a coach of the team, uh, means fairy tale end for Dravid.
Fairy tale ending for Dravid indeed, not just Dravid, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Ravindra Jadeja, and India as well, who finally have won a ICC World Cup after 13 years. Uh, at this point in time, we have to give due credit to South Africa. They have had an unbeaten campaign to the final, and this is their first ever ICC World Cup final. And yet, there were no nerves until the last few overs. Not for once did they look like they were going into a shell. Whether it was Quinton de Kock or Tristan Stubbs, who's going to be
They were
playing for South
cruising, in fact,
Africa.
means at one point of time it was like they'll win this match inside 15 overs. The way Klaassen, Stubbs, and Quinton de Kock they were performing means it was like they'll win it inside 15 overs and all is over for India. But again, that man, Jasprit Bumrah, he changed it all for the country.
Indeed, and this picture after the final was very similar. Like players are with their families, there are tears. One side it's very happy, other side it's all agony, and the other side is ecstasy. Ecstasy, if you have to borrow words of Ian Smith. But that's it for the T20 World Cup, men's T20 World Cup. There is a lot of cricket left. There is a lot of sporting action left. There is a Euro going on, Copa America going on, Wimbledon, Olympics in Paris, Women's T20 World Cup in Bangladesh. Because I mentioned the Women's T20 World Cup, just one thing here. There's this stat where whenever there is a player from Kerala, India won a T20 won a World Cup. Whether it's 1983, whether it's 2007, 2011. Sanju Samson might not have played any game, had anything to do with what happened on the field throughout this campaign, but he's there
So
is.
are you saying that player from Kerala is a lucky basket for Indian cricket team?
I'm
They
not
must
saying I'm not saying anything, but it looks like it. We'll have to wait and see how it goes in the women for Bangladesh, and they do have quite a few Kerala players in the mix.
If it is so, then they should really have one player from Kerala in their squad.
We'll wait and see if they do. There is a lot of action coming up, and we'll bring you everything in New Indian Express. Do keep track of the social media handles and the YouTube channel. Until then, this is Gomesh signing off with Firoz Mirza.